Hey everyone, this is Nick Shalom, the founder of Asage and former Air Force and Space Force Chief Software Officer. We're excited today. We have a great team to dig into a case study and lessons learned on how they were able to use Sage to get to pretty incredible outcomes. And so, welcome, Stephen, welcome, Mark, and welcome, Nick. Tell us a little bit, Mark, about who you guys are and what is your organization about.
Sure. We're all from Veterans Guardian VA Claim Consulting. Basically, what we do is provide consultative services to veterans to assist them with their VA disability claims. There's about 19 million American service members, veterans, eligible for claims, and only about 5 million of them have actual disability ratings from the VA. So our job is to help those that don't have disability ratings and also assist those who have ratings currently, but have maybe been underrated by the VA for quite some time. So if we can do that, then all about 75% of our company is veterans, spouse of veterans, or spouse of active duty service members. And so we think it's a good service that we can provide back to the community to get those veterans what they're sort of medically, ethically, legally entitled to as a result of their honorable service to the nation.
Yeah, it's no doubt, right? Because what you find is, the process is so cumbersome, right? You mentioned the numbers here. It's no surprise, right? Most people cannot figure out how to do this, and it's a very painful process. It's very time consuming, very confusing. Even when people do apply, if they mess up the paperwork, they end up getting a lesser amount of coverage or claims, and so they don't get the same amount of money they're potentially eligible to. So it's a very incredible service you're doing to the veterans, and that's why we wanted to partner with you from the get go. When I heard about you guys and I heard of what services you're providing, it was really a no brainer for us to get started there to show both to the VA but also to the Department of Defense kind of some of the key results we can get by augmenting human capabilities using generative AI. And so, when we started the engagement together, what were your thoughts? What was your goal? Tell us a little bit about the current process. If you take an example of a veteran, what does it take to do what you do, and what was your goal, and what did you try to optimize?
Sure. So as you mentioned, the bureaucracy can be cumbersome, right? And it can be incredibly defeating to veterans that go through the process. And when you try to do it yourself, it's easy to get in to meet roadblocks and to not be able to get past certain points. And so an organization like ours can assist that veteran through the process. And so we work within the VA system to make sure that vets get the best possible outcomes. But even working within that system, veterans still have to provide records and documentation and evidence and all those things to help build their case. And sometimes a lot of that's hard to interpret. Trying to interpret records from the 1950s is a little bit more difficult than maybe some of the records that a vet today might have. And so being able to walk somebody through the process, develop a strategy that's going to be successful for them. Not every veteran can claim every condition that they think they might suffer from now and get it service connected back to when they were young and vibrant in whatever service they served in. So what we try to do is take all of that documentation, all those things that a veteran might have, and develop the best strategy we can for success for them. And by walking them through what it's going to take, according to VA regulations, according to law, to have a successful outcome, I think is incredibly important. But it's also, incredibly cumbersome. There's no shortage. As we know, the government loves documentation. They love to have a paperwork trail over time. And so we find that it's incredibly labor intensive to be able to analyze whatever documentation that a vet might have and put gather the right stuff to be able to create a successful claim for that individual veteran is incredibly important. And our team here is set up to make sure that we can analyze service records, medical records, or anything else post-duty medical records that a veteran might have in order to create the best claim possible.
And so the first use case you came to me with was this medical record nightmare of, each veteran having on average, 1,500 pages of medical records, pretty mind-boggling. Like you said, different sources, often a lot of different styles, lot of different source of data. So pretty confusing for most people to analyze. And so you wanted to see if it was possible to extract some key insight from these pages, medications, illnesses, dates, and so on, to tell us what the process was before AI and what does it look like now.
Sure. So we have a great group of medical professionals that could take my medical records and go page by page, line by line, everything that's in there, and take notes. And 1,500 pages is not uncommon for somebody that might spend 20 or 25 years in the military. And so imagine how much time it would take for an individually to manually do that. Those 1,500 pages might take somebody 8 to 10 hours easily to go through. And you have to hope that that person isn't fatigued, that they don't miss things, that they don't get distracted. And so the process, and certainly can't always do it 8 hours or 10 hours in a row. It's just somebody gets burned out relatively quickly doing that. So it takes a lot of time to manually go through these records. And so what we found by using Sage and kind of implementing that into our business practice is that we're able to take a set of records like that, something that might take 8 or 10 hours for an individual to do, and really kind of use AI to pick out the high points, pick out all the conditions, medications, dates, all these diagnoses, all these things that are incredibly important for a claim. And it really has reduced our time frame on like a 1,500 page document. Instead of 8 to 10 hours, maybe for an individual, it takes AI maybe 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, that sounds pretty exciting. And like you said, humans will get tired, and AI will not struggle with doing this again and again and again. That's the beauty of the technology there. You're not going to see that decrease of efficiency along the way, and it's so difficult for people to be able to do these kind of jobs, on a full-time basis, right? I think it's not realistic to expect someone to do that, so you often end up spreading it among multiple days, and that turns into weeks, and that compounds over time. So when you look at some of the success story and the results that you're seeing so far, it's been a couple of months now that we started this engagement. What would you say were the things you were expecting, and also the things that you were surprised about?
Sure. So I don't know that we knew what to expect. We weren't sure how this was going to work. All of us have been looking at the developments of ChatGPT and AI and all these things in the news, and to put it into actual practice and see it has been actually incredibly amazing, because I don't think the normal individual has an idea of how impressive and how powerful this tool can be. And so I'll share with you just the numbers piece of it. I kind of talked about the time it takes for any review of records or documentation or whatever by a human, and by what we've seen using Sage AI. We're doing the math, and if we were looking at a backlog of potentially somewhere in the ballpark of maybe 3,500 records that have to be gone through, or documents, sets of documents. So imagine 3,500 different files that need to be looked at. Given the human capacity to do that backlog, I would probably, as a company, have to hire about 5 times more than what we have right now in human capital. So I'll give an example. If we have 10 employees doing it now, we'd have to get to 50 employees. And it's just incredibly hard to hire and train and get those people on board. And so we just couldn't ever probably get that backlog reduced using full-time employees. I mean, it'd be virtually impossible, because every record that we would go through, every file that we went through, there's a new client coming in that becomes part of that queue. And so when you think you make up that space, it is continually getting added to. And so by using Sage, what we found is that we can implement that process, and really that entire backlog of potentially 3,500 clients or 3,500 files gets reduced to about 30 days. And
Yeah, that's a game changer right there.
when you look at that,
Would you know how long it would take to do the 3,500 if you keep the same team? How long does that look like to do 3,500 cases?
if we didn't have anything added, it would
Right.
probably take us in the ballpark of more than 3 years, more than 5 years, probably.
Yeah.
It's
So 5 years to down to a month.
it's a no-brainer for a company.
And what did you think of the costs?
I don't think you can compare the costs, and I'm smiling a little bit because the costs that we have to implement this, the time that we've used to develop it. So if you took all those associated labor hours and all that, it doesn't even at this point compare to probably hiring 1 or 2 full-time employees.
Right. And of course, that's because you use Sage, and we did a lot of the security work for you. But certainly people can do it in different ways. But certainly helpful not to have to worry about PHI and all this PII nightmare.
It's true. Well, and I mean, that's a great point for an organization like ours. One of the benefits and what was so appealing, not just the technological piece of it, but the HIPAA compliance, the ability to safeguard PII, the fact that it's a closed system and only is looking at what we put into it is incredibly important, because nobody wants to think about their personal data getting out anywhere and being analyzed by anything else. So all of those things together, Sage has been a great partner across the board, and we've certainly benefited from it.
So what are the lessons learned that you've seen, and any kind of things to pay attention to in terms of the impediment side? Did you find limitations? Did you find issues you could not overcome? I know we help your team with some prompt engineering. Of course, learning prompt engineering is essential. I always tell people, don't blame the bot if you don't know how to ask it. Just blame yourself. But we find it's a maturity curve. It takes a little bit of time. What did you feel about this kind of impediment there?
I don't, and I'll kind of let the real tech experts that I have answer if there were any true impediments to it. But from a C level, from an executive level, I've not seen anything that's really been a roadblock that we couldn't get past. And you put a couple strong minds to the problem, and it gets fixed relatively quickly. And the little hurdles that we've come across have been making sure we could adapt to the product that we're trying to introduce. So making sure that our business product or our business process could adapt to the technology that we're introducing into our system. And so we've had to adjust just a little bit, but for the most part, I can't personally tell you that there's been any impediment to implementation across the board. It's been easier and quicker than we thought it was going to be.
How long did it take, by the way, for you from our first call to getting started and use the technology? You remember?
I'm going to let Nick give me the right answer, but I'm going to tell you, from the first call, from our introductory call to the time where we produced something that we could use, was less than a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Definitely couldn't agree more. I'm thinking that from the first time of the call, it was probably about a month or a month and a half before we were working with our first testing batch with the company and with the members working through this kind of stuff. So it's been ultra fast development, and Ask Sage has made it really easy to kind of develop into this and tailor it to our needs.
So Nick, tell us a little bit about who you are and what's your role here in the company.
Yeah, for sure. So I am one of the software developers on the IT team here at Veterans Guardian. I've bounced around a couple departments relating to IT, but I found myself over in the development section now, working through all the different applications and systems that we use here at Veterans Guardian, and ensuring they kind of integrate effectively with the business processes and flows that we have.
Yeah, no, and you were kind of a guinea pig because when you started the engagement with Ask Sage, a lot of people were using the Ask Sage UI, but not a lot of people were using the API at the time. That was the very beginning of Ask Sage. We're only 7 months old after all, so it kind of makes sense. And so you were the guinea pig with the adoption of the API of Ask Sage and integrating into your existing workflow. What's been helpful? How do you see that evolving? And tell us a little bit about the lessons learned for you and kind of what you had to overcome when it comes to maybe prompt engineering or simply understanding the abilities of generative AI.
Yeah, definitely. So as you said, kind of coming into this as a guinea pig, even with that being said, this was kind of one of my first experiences working with generative AI in the workforce. So it's been a wonderful experience for me getting to kind of learn and develop my skills with this kind of technology. And it's just really shown how far this technology can go and everything that it can do.
Tell us a little bit of
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about the prompt engineering and kind of that curve. Did you have to go watch a bunch of videos? What did you do to really optimize your prompts?
Yeah, for sure. A little bit of studying and research was involved. A lot of that involved videos that you've released yourself and going back through the walkthroughs that we've been provided with. But you all also offer a wonderful tool within the UI system itself for the prompt engineering that I was able to use really effectively to take the prompts that we had at the moment and just tweak and refine them into even better prompts that provided the information accurately and in a timely manner. So using that prompt engineering tool set on the Ask Sage site has been very helpful in, making these prompts work as they intend to and being effective.
Yeah, so a lot of people are worried about hallucinations and generative AI making stuff up. We find that it's not the case when you ask it to extract information from documents and stuff like that. So did you find any issues with hallucinations when it came to extracting data?
I'll say that I've not really ran into that many issues. Like you mentioned, usually when it's extracting data, it's a lot more clean. You're basically providing it with all the information it's going to have. And with the system, you can tweak it to work only off of the input that you're given. So working with that and tweaking those parameters, it's made it very clean to extract that data. And we've not really ran into any kind of hallucinations or errors on that kind of front.
Yeah, that's one of the big fear that people have, that you cannot actually use it in enterprise because it's always wrong, which is not true. And I think it's often a matter of how you pass the data, how you give the right insights to the prompt to make sure this doesn't happen. And that's kind of what we had to build, with the plugins we built for you guys to make sure that we can provide this extraction feature as efficiently as possible. One of the thing also we benefit from is having so many different models and options. Did you find that ability to tap into some of the larger models like GPT 432K, GPT 3.5 16K to have larger token window a benefit to your use case?
Definitely. looking through all the different models provided by Ask Sage has been something we've kept looking at and working with throughout the entire process. So I know we started our process somewhere on the 3.5 scale and, kind of worked our ways up. And, with these documents that we work with, there can be a lot of data. That's where those 16K and 32K models really come into shine. And having those models and being able to use them effectively has been a blessing for the development of this software that we have.
Yeah. And Stephen, you gave us a little bit of background of who you are here and also what was your take on the adoption of generative AI?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the team lead for IT DevOps department. I've been here about 4 years. And like Nick said, he started out in the IT operations department a couple years ago, and we really kind of knew his skill set was in software development, and so we transitioned him over to IT DevOps last year. And Mark came to me with this potential opportunity with Sage AI and ChatGPT, and he asked me to identify a developer that could probably make some waves in this space and do it quickly. And so I quickly, pointed out Nick as a candidate. And so once we chose Nick, he was just off to the races. And I've just been shocked at the level of progress he's been able to make in a short amount of time, and really make a dent in, like Mark said, a medical backlog of documents we've got, and really, get it out to actually being tested and used with the staff, instead of just kind of, using test scenarios and things like that. We've actually gotten it into practice pretty quickly.
Were you expecting this to go as smoothly and efficiently as it has, or was it a surprise?
Well, the software development life cycle, it takes on many iterations, and you've got continuous development, continuous improvement. Improvement is our motto. And so, no, to be candid with you, I did not think we would make this level of progress this quickly. We manage our CRM, we manage our website, we manage a lot of the backend databases and automations that are client facing with our veterans. And so we're used to having barriers to entry. They're difficult at times to overcome. So I approached this project and tried to table expectations with Mark and settle him down. We were all very excited, and I've been blown away at how quickly we've gotten to get this up and running.
And we talk about it a little bit with Mark, but the cost of the platform that we gave you access to, and the tokens. I mean, you were able to do so much volume of data with what is really a couple of $1,000s of investment in tokens. And again, if we were to compare with hiring people and just the salary of one or two of these people, like Mark mentioned, it's a no-brainer. But it's also very difficult to find these people. It's also a job that's very difficult. It's very likely to make some mistakes, and it's difficult to do this 24/7, or at least full time. You probably want to do a bunch of different tasks, because extracting insight from a large amount of data is obviously very tiring. So do you see this kind of use cases and this kind of technology spread in other field that you are overseeing as well? What's your take on what's next?
Yeah, that's a good question. So obviously, we mentioned what it would be like if we had to hire staff to get these kind of numbers and productivity. And we just talk at a very high level, just the cost of their salary, but there's more involved, right? There's some sunk costs there with hiring employees. You have health benefits, you've got life insurance, disability. So the actual number of employees, or the dollar amount is quite a bit higher than just saying we would have to hire X amount of employees at X amount of dollars. So it's great that we've been able to use this product. And you're right, we've rolled this out in a specific department that we've identified with a backlog of medical records to be reviewed. But as we get better and better at it, and Nick is able to tailor this stuff and get results that are more accurate and more predictable, more user friendly, we see use cases in all departments eventually. Nick, we can identify the billing department as something we want to go after probably pretty soon after this, as an ability to help with reconciliation and some things that take human hours away from efforts that are more catered toward servicing the veteran, right? So once we roll it out to other departments, we can pull back from some of those tedious and cumbersome tasks that the staff is doing, and let the engine run 24 hours a day and just hum along.
Yeah, we're working on a lot of new integrations and connectors. Some of them that we released is databases integrations, with MySQL, MongoDB, Postgres, Elastic, you name it, SQL Server, SharePoint, so you can really ingest real-time data, tap into these databases, and instead of the bot ingesting massive amount of volume of data, it's doing it in runtime and tapping into these data sets and data lake to extract the right insights and effectively write your queries, right? So it's able to write your SQL queries, it's able to extract the insights and then give it back to the user in a friendly UI fashion, which is, also going to disrupt a little bit the software development landscape of full stack engineers that used to work on creating all these dashboards and all this glue code, integrating different APIs and things. Now, the bot can actually do that by itself, just by understanding the API documentation. That's all we have to feed it, and same thing for tables. A SQL table schema is enough for the bot to know which field to query and how and which table. And so it's going to be a game changer for real-time access to data. So back to your bidding aspect there, it's a game changer how we actually also integrated our billing and CRM with Salesforce here at AskSage as an option to also accelerate our process here internally as well. So of course we use the same tools, right, that we're preaching, and we see the velocity increase on average of 35x. So one person turning into 35 is kind of the average we see between customers. So just to go back to Mark a little bit, if you have now to look at what we achieved and what the future holds, what's your take on what's next on your side?
Yeah, that it's so interesting to think about what's in the realm of the possible. We're one relatively small company taking on something that is important, is going to improve our capacity quite a bit. We're specifically focused on the Veterans Administration, and we've seen the Veterans Administration start to use AI to examine claims and other things that they have to handle for our veterans in the country. So for us, I continue to see a future where we integrate this to make the process that we have more efficient, where we don't need to necessarily have human involvement. The things that make us great as a company are that we're veteran centric, that we care about making sure that our veteran clients are taken care of, and so we're implementing these tools and using them where we can to make it a bit more efficient, so that we can focus our personal human energy to another human to help them understand the process and move along in a way that they're comfortable. And we don't let the human out of the loop either. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that too when these things are examined. So there's a human there to make sure that there's no error, or that somebody has a look at it, they're doing a little bit of quality control on it. But as we continue to grow and change and evolve, we would expect to grow and change and evolve with Sage too, because we found this to be a tool that can be used probably in many more spaces in this company than we even recognize right now.
Well, first I wanted to thank you because what you're doing for the veterans is essential. That's something I really was trying to find, is a company like yours to really partner with to show the art of possible. Because the VA is certainly interested with AskSage, and they have a few users now. Still quite anecdotal compared to the size of the VA and the potential of VA and how we could help them. But we're excited to have the VA part of the engagement with AskSage, but we also knew that a company like yours can move much faster and show some outcomes. And when I see all the potentials and how many people you're helping accelerate their process, which is really already painful enough. They've done enough for the nation. They don't need to have more pain. I think they gave plenty, and we should really do better as a nation. And so I wanted to thank all three of you and also of course all your teams to for all the work you're doing to make that journey less painful, and also making sure they are treated the right way.
Yeah, it's our pleasure to do it.
Well, thanks everybody for watching. If you have any questions to Vets Guardian, go to vetsguardian.com and feel free to reach out to them if you're a veteran and you need help. They are a great company, and they will make sure to take great care of you. And you're going to be indirectly benefiting from AI advancements to move faster and be able to take this backlog down. And if you have any questions about Ask Sage, reach out to us at sales@asksage.ai. Thanks, everybody.